Hello, friends. You're listening to Phantom Stories, bringing you terrifying tales in my own voice. Today's story comes from the outskirts of Bilaspur city in Chhattisgarh, India. It's about a man named Prakash, a truck driver by profession. Let's hear this bone-chilling account directly from Prakash. But before we begin, as I always say, you might have heard many horror stories, but I am certain today's tale will send real shivers down your spine. Just promise me you'll listen till the end. It will be worth it. And if you're new to our channel, hit subscribe now to stay connected and never miss our upcoming stories. Without further delay, let's begin.
Hello friends, my name is Prakash. I live in a small village near Bilaspur city in Chhattisgarh, India. The story I bring you today is about the most horrifying incident of my life, one I still can't erase from my mind. When it happened, I was so terrified I was certain I was going to die right there. But then, suddenly, something occurred that allowed me to escape with my life. Even now, years later, I dread driving alone at night, terrified that it might happen again. This happened roughly 12 years ago. By then, I had about 10 years of experience driving trucks. Sometimes, I'd make deliveries without a helper, khalasi. When I was new, I always needed someone with me at night. I wasn't used to long, silent hauls alone. The quiet would make me drowsy. With a companion, conversation kept us awake. But over a decade, I got used to solitude. I could drive anywhere alone. Though, when the truck was loaded, I always took a helper for loading and unloading duties. Once, when I was hauling produce for a vegetable market, I had to pick up a load of grapes from a cold storage facility. I was told the grapes were highly perishable. I had to get them back to the market as fast as possible. If they weren't sold within 2-3 days, they'd spoil. So I set out that evening itself. I had no inkling that rushing to save those grapes would plunge me into a danger that would leave me scarred. I had driven countless nights before without incident, so leaving at dusk felt routine. Like an unsuspecting traveler, I embarked on that fateful journey. As I left Bilaspur around 8:30 p.m., the city lights fading behind me, I decided to grab a quick bite. I usually ate at home, but I had called my family to say I'd be gone for a couple of days. Feeling hungry, I stopped at a familiar dhaba on the highway bypass. By the time I ate, stretched my legs, a habit to avoid health issues after eating, and got back on the road, it was past 10 p.m. I knew reaching the cold storage would take until about 4 a.m. Being alone, drowsiness was a constant threat. I turned on some light music to stay alert. But they say, no matter how hard you try to avoid trouble, if it's destined, it finds you. That night, an unprecedented horror awaited me down that lonely road. Soon after leaving the dhaba, about 5 to 7 kilometers out, Bilaspur was far behind. I was on a narrow single-lane road flanked by dense trees, a desolate forest-like stretch with no houses in sight. I'd taken this shortcut instead of the main highway to avoid traffic snarls in small towns. Little did I know, a different kind of traffic jam was prepared for me, one I couldn't escape. You'll understand why soon. Please listen till the end.
I was driving, cool night air blowing through the window, humming along to the radio, when around 10 to 12 kilometers into this isolated stretch, I saw something overturned on a slight bend ahead. I slowed down. As my headlights swept over it, I saw it wasn't a car, but an ambassador taxi, the old boxy kind you rarely see anymore, especially not around Bilaspur. In my 10 years driving, I'd never seen one like this. What shocked me more, the taxi lay crumpled, but its wheels were still spinning. It looked like it had just crashed moments before. But that made no sense. If it happened so recently, why hadn't I heard the crash? Why was there nothing nearby it could have hit? No tree, no other vehicle? And the bend wasn't sharp enough to cause such a rollover at high speed. The spinning wheels screamed fresh accident. Yet all four tires were intact, not a single puncture. Part of me wanted to drive past. I was in a hurry, but my conscience wouldn't allow it. If someone needed help, I pulled my truck over a safe distance ahead, left the engine running, grabbed the iron rod I kept under my seat for safety, like many truckers do, and cautiously approached the taxi. The license plate looked ancient, the model easily 30 to 40 years old. Who kept such a relic running? As I neared the driver's side in the beam of my truck's headlights, the taxi's headlights suddenly flickered on, then off, sputtering like a dying bulb. Peering inside, my blood ran cold. The steering wheel, the seat, the dashboard, all were splattered with fresh, dark blood. But the cab was empty. Where was the driver? Confused, I decided to head back to my truck. If no one was here, maybe help had already arrived. Just as I turned, a low, agonized moan came from the tall grass beside the road. It sounded like someone in unbearable pain. My heart hammered. Maybe the driver had crawled out. I took a few steps towards the sound. Suddenly, a sharp, blood-curdling scream ripped through the night. My legs froze. That scream was unmistakably human, filled with terror and agony. But fear paralyzed me. I remembered warnings from other drivers about this stretch. Bandits faking accidents to rob travelers. Was this a trap? Panicked, I sprinted back to my truck, fumbled with the door, and locked myself in, clutching the iron rod. Just then, my truck's engine coughed and died. Instantly, the headlights went out. Pitch-black darkness swallowed everything. I couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. As I fumbled for a flashlight, the overturned taxi's headlights suddenly flared back to life, piercing the darkness. Relieved for the light, but wary, I cautiously approached the grassy verge where the moan had come from. What I saw made my stomach lurch. Lying in the grass was a mutilated corpse. It was horrific. Both eyes were gouged out, one completely gone, the other hanging grotesquely from its socket, dark blood oozing down the face. But the worst was the stomach. It was ripped open from chest to groin. Coils of intestine spilled out onto the grass, glistening wetly in the taxi's harsh light. It looked like someone had tried to tear the organs out. The sheer brutality was stomach-churning. As I stared, frozen in horror, a chilling feeling crept over me. In the glare of the taxi's headlights, I sensed a dark figure standing behind the wreck, a tall, shadowy silhouette. I whipped my head around. Yes, someone was standing there, just beyond the light, watching me. I couldn't make out their face against the glare. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice trembling. "Show yourself!" Instead of an answer, a low, guttural chuckle came from right beside me, from the direction of the mutilated corpse. I looked down. The impossible happened. The corpse, the one with its eyes gouged out and intestines spilling, was smiling. A wide, gruesome rictus spread across its ruined face. It was looking straight at me. Terror, cold and absolute, seized me. How could a corpse smile?
Suddenly, the taxi's headlights sputtered violently and died again, plunging us back into suffocating darkness. Desperate, I scrambled back towards my truck. In the brief flashes of moonlight, I saw the figure near the taxi was still there, watching. And worse, I heard a wet, dragging sound. The corpse was moving towards me. I reached my truck, yanked the door open, and slammed it shut. My hands shook as I tried to start the engine. Nothing, just a sickening click, over and over. Sweat poured down my temples. Panic rose like bile in my throat. I remembered an old trick my former helper taught me, hot wiring the ignition directly under the dash.
Fumbling blindly beneath the steering column, I tried to find the wires. Outside, the dragging sound got closer. A wet thud hit the driver's side door. Through the window, silhouetted against the faint moonlight, I saw it. The corpse was standing right outside. Its one dangling eye seemed to fix on me. It grabbed the door handle, rattling it violently. A wet, gurgling sound came from its ruined throat. Dark fluid, blood, and something else dripped from its hanging intestines onto the ground. The stench of decay and copper filled the cab. Terror gave me frantic energy. My fingers found the wires. Sparks flew as I twisted them together. The engine roared to life. I slammed the gear shift into first, stomped on the accelerator, and the truck lurched forward. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. I just drove. Tears of terror and relief streaming down my face, the image of that smiling corpse and the shadowy figure seared into my mind forever. I delivered the grapes somehow, but I never drove that shortcut again. I rarely drive alone at night anymore. And even now, 12 years later, the sight of an old ambassador taxi or the smell of damp earth and copper on a dark road sends a jolt of pure terror straight through my heart. Whatever I saw that night, it wasn't human. And I pray to God I never see it again. Friends, this was Prakash's horrifying experience on a lonely road near Bilaspur. It makes you wonder about the thin veil between our world and something else. What was that taxi? Who was the figure? And what was that thing crawling in the grass? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story chilled you to the bone, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Phantom Stories and hit the bell icon for notifications. Until next time, drive safe and maybe avoid those lonely roads after dark. Thanks for watching.